Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In. I'm coming at you tonight to talk about the Saw franchise. I've never ranked it, and I want to do it now, but I'm not doing it alone. Here with me is a new buddy of mine, got a great channel, got some great content, and he happens to be a Saw fan himself. So everybody give it up for Ken from SledgeHammer Horror. How you doing, Ken?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to get into this. You ready?
I'm so ready. I'm a big fan of this franchise. I have yet to rank it on any type of media, so I'm very excited to see how it goes.
All right. Hell yeah. Well, we're going to do it. And hope you guys, just want to let you know really quick, as with any ranking, these are not objective. This is just our opinion. Please comment, like, subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and subscribe to Ken over at SledgeHammer Horror. Check out his stuff. He's got some great content. And without further ado, let's get into our least favorite Saw movie. So coming in at number 8, Ken, what do you got?
I have Jigsaw. This is a movie for me. I saw every single one of these films in the theater. This is the only one that I just didn't, even in cinema, I just was not a fan at all. I think it has the worst twists. I think there's too much retcon. Spoiler alert, by the way, for those of you that haven't seen it. Going back and, putting people in situations that there's no possible way they could have been in, going back to the beginning and saying this guy that's here now was there from the start. And you just never knew it. I can't stand Halloran. I thought he was annoying. And in this one, you actively root for the people in the traps to fail because they're such bad people. These aren't people that got set in there for dumb reasons. Like, these people deserve it. Like, Anna's one of the worst people in any of these movies ever. I can't stand her. The way that her child died and she blamed it on her boyfriend, it was just so terrible. But the biggest thing for me about this movie is they dug up John Kramer's body, put Edgar's body in there and reburied it. And nobody noticed that the ground was disturbed or anything like that. That's one thing that really bothers me about this. The only positive to this movie is John fucking Kramer. That's the only positive in this movie to me whatsoever.
Yeah, well, coming in at number 8 for me, and no surprise, is Jigsaw. And I agree with pretty much every point Ken made. The only saving grace for this movie that made me sit for an hour and a half and watch it was John Kramer, Tobin Bell. That's it. I think that the acting is kind of shitty. I think that the traps are it got to a point in this series where some of these traps were like, you're really trying too hard to make these seem like original and unique, and they're just kind of dumb.
Right.
And like you said, with characters of, oh yeah, he's been here the whole time, you just didn't know it. Yeah, stupid twist at the end, absolutely dumb. As Ken said, spoiler. I mean, I'm not putting a spoiler tag for this, guys. If you haven't seen it, I apologize, turn away. But it actually happened 10 years ago. And actually, I've been working with Jigsaw this entire time, and nobody ever knew it. Oh, how many damn people does Jigsaw need working with him to get it right? Just not a fan of the movie at all. I think it's a turd. So That's number 8 for me. So Ken, what you got at number 7?
My number 7 is Saw 5. And the reason this one is at number 7 is because this is the one that I just don't remember much of. Like, after a rewatch, like, all I remember really from it is Seth's blade death at the beginning, and then Strom. I really like Strom as a character, and the actor, I like him. I hate Hoffman. You'll notice that a lot throughout my ranking. I don't hate the actor, but I hate the character of Hoffman. I just think he's smug and annoying. This has the worst group inside the house. Like, there's nothing really memorable about it. I think the traps in this one are the worst overall. And the thing that really bothers me is you find out in this one that Hoffman lives in the house from Saw 2. And that just didn't make any sense to me at all. Like, that's one big plot hole to me that just didn't make any sense. Like, he's just there with a whole bunch of needles and like, this is my house. You want to put a bunch of needles here on the floor? That'd be cool. So for me, number 7 would be Saw 5, just because there's just really nothing at all memorable about that one at all, except for the ending when you got Strom's death at the end. I thought I hated to watch him go, but it was a really cool way to watch him leave and that getting crushed in the wall. So that's the only really memorable thing about Saw 5 to me.
So Ken and I's rankings are not going to be the same, guys. Like I said, it's subjective. It's what we think. And for me, I know Ken might hate me for this, but for me, it's the final chapter coming in at number 7. Now, I will say, from the final chapter on, I find, including this movie, I find enjoyment in this movie. The only one I don't like is Jigsaw. And for me, the thing about the final chapter is, again, we got to this point with Hoffman right at the end of Saw 6, where it's like, he's not even like a game master anymore. He's just like a homicidal like freak. And he's an asshole. His character, you pretty much fleshed it out as much as you can. And at this point, you get to 7, and you're like, I don't care about Hoffman anymore. And I don't care that, and I'm really getting tired of seeing him escape and escape and escape. I think that I loved Chester Bennington from Linkin Park having a cameo in here. May he rest in peace. One of my all-time favorite bands. And I loved that whole setup. That trap was awesome. They got 4 for the price of 1. I loved to see Jill die. I loved to see Dr. Gordon come back. And I absolutely loved that the end was Hoffman, where it all began. So for me, there's a lot I do like about the movie, but the cons for the movie, as I said, I didn't care for the homicide detective either. The guy from a county or whatever. He's not from the FBI. I didn't really care for him. Again, like I said, I felt like we had just run out the string on Hoffman and Jill at this point, where it was just like, you're just bringing them back to make more movies. But that ending alone makes this movie worth your time. I mean, it really does. Some of the 3D gimmicks it's 3D. I mean, I get it. I didn't see it in 3D. If you did, maybe it was cool, but 3D gimmicks when you're watching it in 2D, it's kind of an eyesore. But that comes in at number 7 for me. But like I said, I do find enjoyment in it. So please do not, hate on me. All right, Ken.
I get it, man. Coming in at number 6 for me is Saw 7, the final chapter. It is low on my list, and the reason why, one of the big things you just said, and I literally wrote on my paper, 3D sucks. I've never been a fan of 3D. Even back in the old school blue and red days, it's just never been something that, turned me on. I've always been a big fan of being able to not have a headache after I watch a movie. The opening threesome storyline to me is so fucking stupid. Why the hell would Jigsaw or Mark Hoffman or Jill or the guy from the Jigsaw, why the hell would they care about these characters whatsoever? Bobby, the character, is a piece of shit. I don't like him. The machine gun kill in this one is probably the worst kill in the whole franchise. And Joyce's death really hurt me, man. Like, she was such a good woman and a good wife, and she died because her husband was such a piece of garbage. But let's talk about some good. Bringing back Dr. Gordon. Chester, I have that on here. Nothing to me is better than watching Nazi skinheads get what they fucking deserve. And that's another trap where you're just like, fuck, if they die, they die, Rocky Fort. If he dies, he dies. That's how I felt watching that, because fuck those Nazi skinheads. Even though I dislike Bobby, I really like his storyline of him faking being in a trap and then having to come back and actually redo it. I absolutely adore John's warning to him when he's at the book signing, like, like that foreshadowing I thought was really good. And unlike everybody else, I really like the slasher feel to this movie, like with Hoffman going around and killing people. Like, I'm a big fan of slashers. So to kind of introduce a little bit of a slasher feel into this film, I thought was really good. I love, watching Carrie Elway's, not you. And he takes us all away, and that was a great ending. So for me, coming in 6th place would be Saw 7, the final chapter.
Yeah, and I didn't even touch on Bobby Dagan, but I'll touch on that really quick. That dude's a dick. I hated him too. So yeah, but coming in at number 6 for me, we just flip-flopped. Saw 5. Now this one's hard because I did struggle and think, well, maybe I'm going to put this below Saw 7. And it's hard because Saw 5 is really dumb in some parts. I mean, really dumb. Like you said, with him living in the house from Saw 2, makes no sense. The fact that Hoffman is just a dude that wants to see people die and not really give them a chance to live.
Yeah.
Kind of defeats the purpose of Jigsaw's games. Not kind of, it does. I did, however, love to see Strom's death. Strom's death was awesome. I mean, in that moment, just thinking what he was thinking, like, there's no way I can get out of here. He's trying, but you're like, dude, you're not getting out. I did enjoy... I really enjoyed the tracheotomy pin through that was awesome. That was super smart. But again, one of the flaws that saw the series started to, the path it went down, and it started with 5, was continuing to allow Hoffman the free reign to do whatever he wanted to do with these people. And the reason I say that is because, well, Jill's still involved. And so is that dude from Jigsaw, apparently. So why is Hoffman allowed to run wild? And I didn't get it, because John even says something in a previous movie to Amanda about that. So, and it's like, and he makes her play a game for that, and she ultimately fails. But so that's what I'm saying. It's like, that just kind of, I'm not a fan of that. Saw 5 for me, it's one of the movies that I really truly hate the people in the trap, like in the game. They're all pieces of shit. And on top of that, not only are they shitty, but there's no chemistry or really camaraderie there. It's like every time we watch them in their next trap, I'm like, can this end? Because like, I really don't give a shit about these people
at all.
And they're so dumb. I mean, the first time I watched it, I'm like, really, only one person can fit in the pipe? Like really? You really think no one else? I just dumb. But again, I do like some things about it. And I don't know, maybe if I ranked them in a week, I'd put it below Saw 7. But for me, Saw 5 comes in at number 6. So we're rolling into number 5 now. What you got?
Now, 5 to 1 to me are all very good. I would even say Saw the Final Chapter has its big moments, but for me, these ones are, I think, cream of the crop. This were the harder ones for me. These could all flip besides 1 and 2. When I'm going from 5 to 3, these could all flip flop at any minute. But as of today, coming in 5th place is Saw 6. The reason why I really hate Amanda's backstory, how she was there when Jill lost the baby, because she needed the drug fix, I don't like how that came into play and how Hoffman knew about it and wrote that letter to make her essentially kill herself in Saw 3. Easton as a character is another one that I fucking hate that guy. I hate bankers. I hate insurance. And this is the real me, Ken Sledge. I hate bankers. I hate insurance people. I hate people that are just out for money. So he was really easy to root against. And this is another one where the traps are all really weak. But on the positive, you do have the whole insurance storyline. I do love that. And the dog pit, how you get these people that are just bad people that are in a trap. The family twist at the end, I thought that was great. Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid ended up, killing him. You killed my dad, you motherfucker. I did love that. I was like, Roderick's chill. Simone cutting her arm off at the beginning to save herself. How the FBI, they keep insinuating to Hoffman that they know it's him, but they won't just flat out come out and say it. That was really tense anytime you had a scene with them. Hoffman turning into the slasher when he starts, cutting the throat at the police station and throwing the hot coffee in the face. And then at the end, man, when Hoffman saves himself in that reverse bear trap by putting it through the window with the bars, it's fucking genius. So genius. So for me, 5th would be Saw 6.
5 for me is Saw 6. And the thing about it is, after Saw 5, I was super bummed because I was like, man, I really enjoyed 4. That movie was really a letdown. And then 6, and I was like, do we need another one? And I really enjoyed Saw 6. For every point that you said, Hoffman is smart as hell with the reverse bear trap. The whole storyline of the FBI, they know it's him. And you're watching the movie and you're like, how does this guy not know that they know? They keep dropping hints like, oh yeah, well, the fingerprints were put on there from basically a dead hand. Oh, that's interesting. Strahm must have done, it's like, it's almost like Hoffman knows he's trapped, but I don't know. I don't want to go on a tangent about it, but yes, that was super interesting and made for some really suspense, some tense moments. I enjoyed the game better in this one than in 5. I will say that because, like you said, I love to see those people die. But at the end of the day, it's definitely one that I struggle. Sometimes, like you said, I can flip flop some of these ones in the middle. But Saw 6 is a really good movie. I really enjoy this movie, and I think that when they discover Hoffman and how he reacts, I think that's badass. I really do. He's just kind of like, but I love the line that she gives him. He's like, who else knows about me? And she says, everyone. And she has the phone in her hand. I loved that because it was like, you're screwed, dude. And at this point, I want to see Hoffman die because he's a dick. So So yeah, coming in at number 5 for me is Saw 6.
I do got to mention something that I said this, the traps in this one are not that great, except for the shotgun carousel. That's one of the most anxiety, driven traps there is, because like as you're spinning, especially that last guy who's like, look at me when you're killing me. That would be so shitty. Like, there's no chance now. I'm fucking dead. As you're spinning, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm dead. I'm going to die. Like, your time is up. So I will say that. So that was the last thing I want to say about Saw 6. Now, what may be a surprise to some people, coming in at 4th place for me is Saw 2. This one, to me, I hate the editing throughout this movie. I think it has a fucking snail's pace. It moves so slow. And you have some of the most worthless characters in this movie, like the Seventh Heaven girl. Like, she does fucking nothing throughout the whole movie. Then she just ends up puking and dying. Like, she wouldn't even get a cool death with her. You got a lot of characters in this movie that are just over the top and filler characters, essentially. But Tobin Bell, he's amazing. I think this is his best performance, to be honest with you. I think Saw 2 is really where he shines. It has much better traps than the original. Some of the traps in this one, like when she gets thrown into the pit of needles, like that literally makes my skin crawl. Or when I can't think of his name. It's not Audie, but it's something like that. When he goes into the fire pit, like that's terrifying. And then finding out that his son was there the whole time in the safe, and Jigsaw just tells him, like, when he beats his ass, he's like, I'll take you to the house. And he's just like, game over. Like, at that point, you're like, oh shit. Now, another thing I don't like about this movie is we never find out anything about the kid again. Like, that's one thing I always thought, that he would come back into play at a later date, especially with his dad being gone for so long and he knows the person that did it. Like, I thought he would come back into play and not go and, join Scream 4 and act like he was gay to not die. Like, that was a kid I thought could have made a lot of sense coming back later on in the end. So, so for me, I do like the story too of him, a hot-headed detective that planted evidence. He's a police officer, which we all know now, especially and nowadays, not every police officer is good. Not everyone is bad either. I want to make that clear. I'm not on the anti-police. I'm not for police. I'm right in the middle. You have some great ones, you have some bad ones, but to watch this bad cop kind of get his comeuppance, it sucks it has to come from his kid, but it was a cool idea at the time for me.
Yeah, and coming in at number 4 for me is also Saw 2.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I want to say real quick, we didn't discuss our rankings before this either. Like, we talked about, the only one we knew was the end. We knew the bottom. That's it. So that's really funny to me how similar these are with us.
Yeah, when you said it, I was like, holy shit. But for me, I agree with everything you said. Tobin Bell's best performance is in this movie. I personally love Donnie Wahlberg, so I loved his character. I really enjoyed watching him. I really, really, really hated, though, some of the people in the house. Xavier, for example, just a complete piece of shit asshole. And the fact that I hated that guy. I thought it was so dumb. The character's name is Avi, the one you were talking about.
That's what it was. Okay.
And when he's in there and he sees the handle to turn it off, why would you not reach for it at that point? Because if you're not doing it, you're accepting death. You either get some pretty bad 3rd-degree burns or you die. And he accepts death.
What do you have to lose at this point, man? Like, exactly. You might as well try.
Exactly. So that was so dumb. Like you said, the chick that just pukes and dies, the absolute idiot that puts her hands up into the box. I mean, not just one. After she can't get the first one out, she's like, let me try the other one. And I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. I mean, there's just so much about that movie. I really didn't care for Amanda in this movie either. I thought that Shawnee Smith was kind of subpar in this movie with her acting. And maybe they can play that off like, well, that's because she's part of the game. And like, she was pretending. Yeah, maybe. But at the same time, I feel like she's just really easy to not like in this movie. And I did not like her. The twist, though, with him in the safe. Oh, yeah. Badass. Absolutely badass. And the ending always stuck in my brain when it's zooming out on Jigsaw as he's smiling in the van. And you just hear, you fucking bitch. Like, I loved that ending. That ending, like, incredible. So yeah, Saw 2 is a really good movie, guys. I do like it. And I agree with you. The fact that we never saw Daniel again was just like, why? Like, what's the reasoning for that? Like, we see a bunch of other people in later movies come back, especially in Saw 7 when you have that support group. But, I didn't agree with that. But Saw 2 comes in at number 4 for me.
All right. So number 3, here's where everybody's going to unsubscribe from me and stop listening to me. Coming in at number 3 for me is the best Saw movie, but my third favorite, which is Saw. This is number 3 for me. I mean, obviously the pros of this movie, you have the best ending probably of any film, in my opinion, of all time. I was lucky enough to watch this film when it came out in the theater on opening weekend. It was not spoiled for me. And I have goosebumps right now just thinking about that day. The only other time I felt anything like that in a cinema was in Hereditary in the car scene, feeling this like come over a whole crowd when Jigsaw stood up at the end was just absolutely amazing. It's an experience I wish I could relive. I love the traps and the originality of this movie. This movie really started something. But man, let's be honest. The acting in this movie is fucking atrocious. There's terrible acting all throughout the movie. The editing of this movie is, I mean, it's like a music video, like the points and the time jumps. You have so many time jumps that are just really annoying. And again, by no fault of this movie, but never bringing back Monica Potter as Carrie Elwes' wife. That's another missed opportunity for me. Like you see him come back, like she would have been another great one for that support group, you know, because she obviously is traumatized and her daughter's traumatized. So again, that's no, knock on this movie, but Leigh Whannell, amazing director, amazing writer, awful actor in this movie. You know, like there's so many scenes that we could talk about where he just, misses it. And even though, look, I'm a huge fan of Dead Meat and James A. Janice, but he brought it up in his episode of the kill count for Saw. But there's a point where Dr. Gordon's like, "Who are you?" And Leigh Whannell's like, "You know who I am." And he just sounds like a little kid that's in trouble, like trying to hide. And it's so funny because every time that movie's out, me and my wife at that part would look at each other and just be like, "You know who I am," So like that's a scene that always got me too. But for me, number 3, even though I think it's the best in the franchise, it is my third favorite at Saw, the original.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's going to be a lot of people that unsubscribe to both of us because coming in at number 3 for me is the original Saw.
Yes.
And I will say this really quick, guys. As Ken said, it is the best movie. It has the best twist ending. It has the most surprises, I think. I think it's the best written. And I think they've got some great actors in there, and Carrie Elwes, Monica Potter, Tobin Bell. I even actually really like, what's his name? Tap, the actor.
Oh, not Donald, Danny Glover.
Danny Glover, yeah. Love all that. And I think that ending will stick in your craw forever when he just stands up. And he's like, "Oh yeah, the key to your chains is in the tub." And he's like, "What the fuck?" Well, yeah. So Saw, objectively, yes. Is it the best one? Probably. Is it my favorite? No. And we have the introduction of the greatest trap, and that right there. Check it out.
Yes. The bear trap is easily my favorite trap. And that's something I forgot to mention on Saw 6 or 7, whichever fucking one it was, when you finally got to see it go off. Even though I hated Jill's death, to watch it finally happen was so fucking dope. We've been waiting for this since this one with Amanda, and to actually see it finally go off, it was fucking dope, dude. So good.
Yeah, and so I really, really enjoy the movie, but like you said, there's a lot of subpar acting. It's very choppy at times. Sometimes it doesn't flow super well because of how choppy it is. I just think that if you're going to say it's the best one in the series, but it's not your favorite, that's absolutely fair. I think too many times we go, well, the original has to be the best, right? It has to be your favorite, right? If it's the best, it's your favorite. Not necessarily. If a movie is the best, doesn't have to be your favorite. And that's where Saw is for me. There's a lot about Saw that I like, but there's these minor gripes that really just drag it down to number 3. But again, we're talking top 3 here, guys. So this is like God tier. So I'm interested to see what these next 2 are because we have the same 2 movies remaining. So I want to see which one's your number 1. But that's my number 3. Ken, go ahead with your number 2.
Well, since I'm telling you my number 2, you're going to know my number 1. My number 2 is Saw 4. Saw 4 is my number 2. Again, Hoffman getting more of a role. I don't like Hoffman really. I like the actor, but the guy himself is just dry, and he's the total opposite of what Jigsaw is and what we were built to love in the giving you a chance to win your games. And it started really with Amanda in 3, but it really gets carried on here. I think Cecil's death is the dumbest death in the whole franchise. Not the worst trap, but the dumbest death, how he runs at John and he ends up just falling in the barbed wire and bleeding out. And I think this one has the worst ending in the franchise. I will say that. I think Saw 4 has the worst ending. But the positives outweigh the negatives. Having Eric Matthews' story continue after almost completely forgetting about him in 3 and his death with the ice was so fucking sick. The hair trap when Rig had to get her out and she's getting scalped. I loved watching that rapist die. I wish we could have seen more of him getting torn to pieces because fuck that animal. I can accept a lot of things in my life, but a pedophile and a rapist are 2 things I can never accept. I love Riggs beating up Rex, the child abuser. That's another thing. I got kids, man. I got a 13-year-old, I got an 8-year-old, and I got a little baby girl. I would never hurt my kids. And to know that people out there do that shit, good on him. There are some times that a cop should bend the rules a little bit, and that's the perfect instance. The John and Jill backstory is so great, how we finally find out why he's snapped. Gideon, the death of his kid. And I love Strom. And I love the spike trap with Rex and Morgan. She finally beat him. She's so proud of herself because she was able to beat him finally, so that's why for me, Saw 4 ranks higher, even though I don't like the ending. The meat of it is much better than the buns. So I love this movie. This is one that I feel is very rewatchable. And it falls just below 3 for a reason we'll talk about in a minute, but it's a very fun movie. I like Saw 4 a lot.
So coming in at number 2 for me, guys, is going to be Saw 4. And the reason is everything, I agree with everything Ken said. I will say first and foremost, the fact that Hoffman just fucking stood up and was like, game over. I was like, this is dumb. That was just so dumb. The stakes for Eric Matthews, just seeing them in that trap. Throughout the movie, you're like, why is Matthew standing on a fucking block that's melting while he's hanging? And you have 2 giant blocks there. Meanwhile, Hoffman's just sitting in a chair tied up. The stakes were not the same.
Death insurance, bro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I really loved this movie. I saw this movie in theaters, and Jill and John's backstory is incredible. You really start to feel for Jigsaw. You really do. And there are parts where you're watching this movie and you're like, I kind of don't blame him. You blame him for some of the extents he goes to, but you don't blame him for what the mental state he was in and where he was at. You at that point, yeah, I probably would have been like, screw everything as well. Loved having Eric Matthews back. Loved, because I talked about it. Love me some Donnie Wahlberg. One of the things that pisses me off more than anything in this franchise, though, is the fact that Rig could not get the message the entire time throughout the game that he needed to be patient and let go of things. And he takes that as, I have to beat the clock, when all the evidence is pointing to just let go. And you will find peace if you let go. And he can't let go, and he gets Matthews killed. And, we go on this whole journey of Hoffman from there on out. But I will say, Jigsaw knew he was going to fail, which is why Hoffman was tied up the way he was, where he could easily get out. Because what happens if he doesn't fail and Matthews lives? And then what? Hoffman, we have to save Hoffman from these fucking, we have to untie him. They knew Rig was going to fail. And so that always pissed me off when he came through that door. But the traps in this movie, the acting in this movie, the depth that you finally get with some of these characters in this movie, just awesome. Awesome. An awesome fucking movie. Yeah. So that's my number 2. And we both have the same number 1. Ken, tell me why it's your number 1.
This has the best story. When it comes to the actual story, it's the best, and it's my favorite twist. Again, not the best twist. I think Saw has the best twist, but this is my favorite, to find out that's Jeff's wife, the whole time. Because you think that, she's getting a divorce. Earlier when her paramour says, I want a divorce. What do you want from me? I want a divorce. This is the hardest trap to watch in this one, with the rack, when Timothy Young is getting his arms, his legs, and his head twisted. But I completely sympathize with Jeff. Jeff catches a lot of shit from a bunch of people. But, man, the thing about Jeff is I wouldn't forgive somebody that killed my kid. Accident or not. Look, I may be wrong. I could be 100% wrong. I was wrong once in the 90s. It could happen again. I don't ever put that past myself. But if somebody killed my kid, I couldn't just forgive him. And for him to get punished because he's hurt, I don't think is very fair. A lot of the deaths in this movie are so gruesome. The girl getting frozen in ice is just a terrible way to go. Even though the judge ends up dying, the original, like him in there with the pig parts getting sliced up and poured on him, is hard to watch because it's so disgusting. The bullet collar death is over the top gross, but it's sad at the same time. And the negatives about this movie there's two negatives to me. One is Amanda. I said a little bit ago, we're going to get my feeling on Amanda. I fucking hate Amanda. She's a big crybaby. She's a fucking drama queen. She's just whiny. There's nothing badass about Amanda to me. And I'm one of these people that is a huge Final Girl fan. I think women make horror. Horror has always been ahead of its time when it comes to making women in the foreground and badasses. Horror has always been in the front of that with Ripley, even Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, Nancy and Nightmare on Elm Street. Women have always dominated horror, and Amanda is just a crybaby bitch. And some of the pacing of this movie is just slow, and you're like, come on, let's go. And everybody makes fun of Jeff because he moves slow and he's, methodical, but he's watching these people that let the guy off that killed his kid. I'm not going to be in a huge hurry to save these people either. I want you to feel some pain. I want you to suffer the way I have been. My son was taken away from me and you essentially let the guy get off with nothing. Fuck you. I don't care if I move slow and you feel pain. I've been feeling pain every day since my boy was taken away from me. So I completely sympathize with Jeff, and I can put myself in his shoes and see why he's not in a hurry to save these people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And number one for me is Saw 3 as well. First one I saw in theaters. I vividly remember it. I will say, I think that Shawnee Smith's acting is fine in this movie, but like you said, she's a whiny little bitch. And the best part about this,
I want to clarify something real quick. It's not Shawnee Smith I have a problem with. She's an amazing actress. It's the actual character of Amanda. And if that's the character she's portraying, she's doing an amazing job by making me hate her because that's what she's supposed to do. So I just wanted to clear that real quick. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I would never bash on an actor or actress. They're doing their job, and that's not who they are in real life. I know we take it a little, serious sometimes, but Shawnee Smith is amazing. She is such an amazing actress. I would never, ever say anything bad about the actress, but the portrayal, the actual person in the film, Amanda, I can't fucking stand her.
Yep. And that's where I'm at too. I think that the best part about this movie, and I just watched this again last night, and just to kind of re-energize myself, and I was really struggling with 3 and 4, and I watched this and I was like, it's 3. The ending when Jigsaw is like giving the speech to Amanda and he's like, I was testing you. And then he just goes off and he says like, this was your game. This wasn't Jeff's game. This wasn't Lynn's game. This was your game and you failed. And this is why you failed. And just the spiel that he's going on as he's watching her die. And she's like, reaching out to him, like, help me. And it's basically like, no, I tried to help you. And the whole time throughout the movie, she keeps saying like, your game is bullshit. Like, this is bullshit. You don't fix people. You don't help people. And it's like, no, it can work. It just didn't work with you because you're a whiny little bitch.
Yeah, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah. And I mean, I just absolutely love this movie. I think that it has some of the most emotional depth. I think it has some great acting, great kills. I think that, and we actually said this last time we were watching it with the pig trap. I said I would honestly rather deal with pain than ever be in a trap like that. Ever, because that is just disgusting. I think that the ending too, which they didn't really touch on it. You just got it in Saw 5 when you saw at the very beginning, like, they get his daughter out. But I love at the end when he's like, I'm the only one that knows where your daughter is. And it's like, oh shit. But the whole message was just great because everybody involved thought this was all individually. This was all about Jigsaw. This was Jigsaw's game. Jigsaw was the mastermind. This is him trying to exact revenge. And the end, when he goes in the spiel with Amanda and then has the tape recorder for Jeff, it flips it all on its head. It's like, no, this has been about you the whole time. And you couldn't see it. You were too blinded by anger, rage, depression, whatever it may be, you couldn't see that I was testing you. Like, this was all about you. And you failed. Everyone failed. The only person that didn't fail was Lynn. And she died because Amanda failed. And so it's just, I mean, the movie is awesome. It's my favorite Saw movie. And honestly, I can make an argument, guys, that this might objectively be better than the first one. I won't get into that right now. I'll give the purists their carrot. But I will say that Saw 3, every time I watch this movie, and it's the longest Saw movie, which I think is good because, yeah, you get some story, man. You really do. Some of those moments with John, and I'll never forget. It actually kind of made me jump in the theater when, she's like, I can't do it. She's basically talking about his prognosis and she won't look at him. And he's like, look at me. I was like, oh shit. Like he's pissed. And that whole scene, there's 2 scenes in this franchise that gross me the fuck out. And one is the autopsy in Saw 4, fucking disgusting. And in this one, the brain surgery. Fucking disgusting, because it's not even about the gore. You're sitting there like, God, I can't imagine. Yeah. And it's so slow and you see everything. So yeah, anyway, Saw 3 is my number 1. And
I think the trap, man, like when the rat, when he's getting spun, that's one of the hardest things in cinema I've ever had to watch. And it's funny because my wife always laughs because when you get all the big franchises, 90% of them, 3 is my favorite, whether it be Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. Yes. Season of the Witch is my favorite. Saw, Child's Play. Like 3 is always my favorite. You got some exceptions, obviously, like Jaws. Jaws 1 is definitely my favorite. But when it comes to most franchises, 3 is always my favorite. And when Saw 3 came out, I knew right then, I was like, yeah, this is dynamite, man. Like I said, they could have cut some of it out and it would have been okay. But it's just, it pulls on your heartstrings throughout the whole movie when you're learning all these different things. And when you finally find out, when Kramer's like, you just killed Jeff's wife, and you realize right then that that's what was going on. Like, oh, dude, you take that punch to the chest. Like, oh my God, he just went through all this to watch his wife get murdered and find out that it's
another family member.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it's incredible. I've talked to Ken about it. We're both looking forward to Spiral. We're cautiously optimistic. I don't watch these trailers and go, oh, that's going to be badass. No, I watch these trailers and go, it has potential. But one thing that I will say to everyone, and I'm going to do a review for it, as I'm sure Ken will once it drops, but I will say that damn voice in the trailer is so dumb. The fact that you would not put Jigsaw's voice, even though every other copycat used his voice, this one's not going to use his voice. Dumb as fuck. Not looking forward to listening to Kermit the Frog.
I can actually disagree with you on this part. I'm really happy that they're not trying to do John Kramer's Jigsaw in any way in this film. Because I want them to reboot it. They tried to bring back John Kramer in Jigsaw and they just fucking failed miserably in doing so. And they tried to retcon so much. And it really, obviously for both of us made it take a hit because it was at the bottom of the list. And I feel like the reason I disliked it so much is how they tried to retcon everything. And if you have somebody else that's like a copycat or something and you try to tie them into Jigsaw, like I just think that it's so far-fetched at this point that even Jigsaw was far-fetched to the point where it bombed in the box office and nobody liked it and everybody hated it and wanted to pee on it when it came out. But
I wanted to poop on it, but
yeah. John Kramer's run his course. I feel like this is the same way as Child's Play remake. Take this idea and, make it your own and just go in a whole new direction. Take the skin and bones, but, put your own insides into it. So I'm actually really excited to see Spiral, and I'm very excited to see the direction that they go. And, Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, you have 2 guys that, yes, they're great. Chris Rock's a great comedic actor, but he's also a fantastic actor. So to be able to see these guys and Samuel L. Jackson, I'm excited to hear how many motherfuckers he drops in this. So I'm
play games,
truly excited.
Yeah, I am. I will say right now, to nobody's surprise, guys, Samuel L. Jackson is going to be the best character in this movie. I can fucking guarantee it.
Hands down. Hands down.
I love the twist on Billy the Puppet, the pig, like, because they're cops. Like, I love that. I'm excited. I'm really excited. But yeah, guys, that's our Saw ranking. I'm going to talk a little bit off camera with Ken now, but I appreciate you guys stopping by. I've got all of Ken's social media, his channel in the description below. Click on it, like his shit, subscribe to his shit, follow him on Instagram. He's got a Facebook page. Do you do Twitter?
I do.
then we will drop to Twitter as well. But yeah, make sure you check Ken out and stick around. Maybe he and I will get together and review Spiral after it comes out.
Totally.
We'll do it. We'll go see it individually. We'll get together and we will give a spoiler review of Spiral. So make sure to check that. But check his channel, guys. Thanks so much for stopping in. Thank you, Ken, for being here. And go watch some Saw movies, guys.